Well, good evening, everyone. I'm caught without a microphone. I've been caught unawares without a microphone, so you'll have to put up with me speaking loudly and shouting at you. I hope that that's acceptable. I'm Brandon Reinches, the senior curator here at the Missoula Art Museum, and I'm incredibly proud to present this exhibition and welcome Sean Chandler into the gallery. We've been working on this for a couple of years now. There's a few more chairs over here if anybody wants to come in and grab those chairs. We've got front row seating here. I won't even charge you the premium that front row seating usually gets, but you're welcome to come in. This exhibition happened when an exhibition that MAM puts together, the Montana Triennial, which we hosted in 2009, 2012, and 2015, moved from the Missoula Art Museum and went to the Yellowstone Art Museum. And when it did, Sean Chandler put a piece in, and it was this piece here, and it was in the Montana Triennial. Laura Millen, MAM director, back there hugging people randomly, saw the work in person and came back super excited and said, Sean Chandler's making work again. And that was kind of everything that set history. The piece that she shared with us, we looked at and we tracked him down, I think, pretty darn quickly thereafter. He's wonderfully accessible for somebody who holds as much standing in his community and responsibility together. And we're able just to call him up and introduce ourselves and say, Sean, we'd like to work towards an exhibition. And he said, great. And that was kind of fulfilling the commitment that he had made to himself when he received his EED, that he was going to return to painting and return to exhibiting. We knew Sean by reputation before that he had shown at the Eiteljorg and the Heard Museum, really prestigious institutions, and had a wonderful career that went on hiatus. And I think that that's really interesting to be able to look at your artistic practice and set that aside for some time, and then to be able to pick that up again, and then within a very short time produce work like this that could really hang in any fine museum in the country. You know, this is work that you could recognize in any metropolitan area, but we're so lucky that we have it here in the Missoula Art Museum. And I want to thank Sean for allowing us to present this work and to really premiere this exhibition that, in a sense, is a return to, not a return to painting, because he's been doing that for a couple of years, but a return to that level of professional circulation that I think he really deserves. One of the things that we're trying to do with this exhibition is to travel the exhibition through the Museum and Art Gallery Directors Association. Boy, I said that wrong. MAGDA, Montana Art Gallery Directors Association. Thank you for correcting me, John. MAGDA rolls off my tongue over and over again, and I can't believe I messed it up. And we proposed this exhibition to MAGDA. And as usual, Sean breaks most of the molds that he sets out, and so they don't allow unframed work, and they don't allow work that's held to the wall with tacks. And when we talked about this with Sean, he said it'll be okay. Those holes will stretch and get bigger, and it's kind of like that bison hide you saw in my basement that's got those big stretch marks and the holes that have gotten bigger and bigger as it's gotten stretched. So we went ahead and we sought special dispensation to travel this, and I have no doubt that we're going to get a lot of interest from museums across Montana, and it'll travel widely. So we're looking forward to that. Many of you have picked up the publication, and I wanted to thank both Yvonne Tiger, who's not here this evening, wonderful essayist, and then another wonderful essayist, although you wouldn't know it, Jay Schmidt. He's kind of a reluctant essayist. The thing about Sean's work and about writing about his work is we were all in the same position. None of us had seen a single painting. Or maybe we had seen just a single painting, but we didn't really know what he was capable of, what the work was going to look like, what he had been diligently working on for 2 years. All of our studio visits for this exhibition got cut short because of COVID, and we were looking forward to traveling up doing some on-site studio visits. I finally said, Sean, the show is really close now, and we have no idea what you're making or what the work looks like. Do you think that we could do a studio visit by Zoom? And he said, yeah, we can do that. Why didn't you ask sooner? So we looked, and he walked us through every painting, piece by piece, talked about how he was making the work. And I really appreciate the insights of both Yvonne Tiger and Jay Schmidt, and also the encouragement that not only Jay is given, but also the community of artists in Bozeman, and then especially Paintalica nationally, in kind of providing the structure and the encouragement to create this work. So the only thing I wanted to do before I finish up in this long-winded introduction is to thank the Andy Warhol Foundation for the visual arts for project support, because it's really support like that that allows us to do this. So thank you to the Warhol Foundation. Sean, thank you so much. And GB Carson for lending this wonderful painting, but also for the catalog support, because as soon as we committed to the show, he said, well, are you going to do a catalog? And we said, yes, we'll do a catalog. He said, well, can I fund it? And we said, yes, you can fund it. So we're really excited that GB not only had the recognition of Sean's painting and the triennial, and he went out and purchased that painting, but that he let us borrow the painting back and then wanted to see a catalog and wanted to see it in the exhibition. So thank you to the Warhol Foundation, and thank you to GB Carson. It's really support like that that makes projects like this materialize. Without further ado, Sean Chandler.
It's really strange after a long, I don't know, over 12-year, almost 20-year break of being in an art gallery or any museum to exhibit my work. I took a long break because I needed to go do some work up at my home reservation and in the field of American Indian Studies and our tribal language. And but it's really nice to be here, and I thank everybody for coming, and you know, hopefully I get over my nervousness. I had 6 hours to get over it from Harlem to here, but it still doesn't go away. So, well, hey, Aaniiih walk, Aaniiih. I'm Sean, and I'm from the White Clay people, and the title of the show is "The One Defined to Be No One." So I don't know. Many of you may know about Indian history. From the moment Columbus landed, he would forever define us, and that definition still holds today. And these definitions that have changed or been altered or scaled back or more racist, less racist, they would alter them to serve a purpose, and that was to gain our land, gain the riches from the land, and strip us of all of our identity. And so when I talk about the one defined to be no one throughout history, if you want to go just any aspect of Indian history, say for instance the Indian boarding school era, where the Indian children were forbidden to speak their language, forbidden to worship in the way they would normally have done, made into be something that they weren't. And many times these children were told that they would only go so far in the world. And so then there comes a time when they believe that well, I'll probably be nobody, I'll be nothing when I grow up. I won't be successful as my ancestors who were brave, who fought to protect their people, who provided buffalo for their loved ones. And so as even in my era, going to school, even though I didn't go through the boarding school system as my father had or my grandfathers and grandmothers, there was still that little underlying connotation that an Indian could only go so far. And so that's what the overall meaning of that title is, the one defined to be no one. But hopefully, there's a little bit of balance. I mean, in a lot of my work, you'll see a lot of emotion, sometimes a little bit depressing, but I try to, there is a balance there of humor. And but I do have to thank my father over here, who laid the foundation for my artwork and philosophy, as well as my mom over here. You'll see a lot of, I don't know if she had time to look, or either one of them had time to, they just got here, I saw, and they'll see the little bit of, there's an overall look on it, but then if you get down deep, you'll see the little stories that have to do with my life. And little did they know that they would become my material in many cases. So there's one you probably see repeated throughout as toilets or outhouses. Well, a long time ago, in 1981, way back in the 1900s, when I was 10, they did a movie on my dad, PBS, Public Broadcasting System. They did a 30-minute movie, a documentary on him, how he's successful in two worlds, so to speak, the mainstream non-Indian world and the Indian world. So he worked for Xerox. He ended up working for Xerox Corporation for over 25 years, and then so Monday through Friday, they depict him in his everyday life, and then on the weekends, ceremonial life or powwows. And so in the movie, he's narrating about his life, his early life, about going to boarding schools, and how he would deliver newspapers to white people's homes. And when he noticed, as a boy, he would deliver the papers, and he would get to see the inside of their house. He noticed they all had wall-to-wall carpeting, air conditioning, and those are all new things to him. And he also saw toilets that flush. So, he attributed, well, must be what I have to do and gain these things to be successful in the mainstream world. And but it makes you think, the world he came from and the world he would see, and which he would, along with my mom, would become successful in their way and influence me. So I started depicting that imagery in my work to show that the symbol of what's, if that really means, does that mean success, or what is this, in this world, what does that mean? What's that mean for success? And I remember when I first started using that imagery, I think I had a guy on the toilet, and there's probably someone throughout this work, and he goes, the first time he saw it, he said, he goes, "Is that a guy in a toilet?" I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Boy, you're crazy. Where do you get your ideas from?" So it's from him. So, and so he's there. My parents are my foundation of and then I know it goes back generation. This indigenous knowledge, this Indian philosophy of trying to become prosperous, to be prosperous and generous. Now that's success in the Indian world, and or my tribe's world, the Aaniiih. And some of I grew up, connected to the one defined to be no one, about being free. Early on in my life, I think that's where I really remembered all these teachings, at least up to 5. I remember my mom saying that, she worked at Dawson Community College, where she was kind of a counselor to a lot of the indigenous, or the minority students of that place in Glendive, Montana, where I would grow up until I was about 17. And So she would give me lectures about Indian rights and Indian history and being free and questioning whether Indians are we really free? And the answer is no. You know, we're not fully embracing or operating as a true sovereign people. And I later in my life I would become, I would really begin to understand what that means, being free. As you see here, I would much rather just be an artist. You know, I had wanted to be one since I was at least 13. That's when I knew that's what I wanted to be. And that's what I'd rather be doing. But the fact that I have to go help save a language that was forbidden, and it was a campaign by the U.S. government to rid us of our identity and language. So the fact that I have to go back and relearn that because my parents and grandparents weren't allowed to speak it and teach me, to me that's not being free, because I have to undo or try to undo those kind of things, and we have to do it ourselves. Indian people have to do that, themselves. And I love what I do, but sometimes you just want to be an artist I just want to be an artist full time, but I know my responsibilities as a Aaniiih person, Indian person, that I need to ensure that my ancestors didn't suffer for nothing. And I have this opportunity to be an artist and to educate at a tribal college in our indigenous lifeways for our people, our students. And I have that great opportunity to do that. And I'm really fortunate that I have two things that I can do and help other people with. And so you see, there's some imagery in here, but you'll see me in an Uncle Sam outfit. I don't know if you guys, I think it's over there. It might be another place. But so I learned a lot of stuff in kindergarten, but not in kindergarten necessarily. But when I first went to school, my sister and mom were giving me all these rules that I couldn't do stuff, because I was a lot more outgoing up until about 5, and then I just became really quiet, and probably because of these couple reasons. And but they were telling me all these rules that I couldn't do. Had to behave, whatever. And so when I went, I learned 2 different definitions of negativity to what kind of thing I am, an Indian person. One is more racist, and one was kind of ignorance. And I learned from both. And I had braids up until I was about 13, and I decided to cut my hair, and then I grew it back 10 years later. So I had long hair when I was in kindergarten then, and one of the first instances that would probably help define me, there was a boy that made fun of me because I didn't know that it was a thing to make fun of somebody because of their race. But I found out that day, and it kind of made me wonder what is this all about? And the teacher really helped out in that case, and it happened almost every day, to where I did probably become quieter, and then I didn't want to go to school and all that stuff. And my brother was he would have been 16 by then. I was 5, maybe he was 15. And of course, you want your big brother to go in and handle business and beat up somebody for you. So because this other kid, the kid that was doing that, I think he was about 10. So he was 5 years older than me. And of course, my brother, I said, yeah, he keeps telling me, this kid at school keeps telling me to do the rain dance, and he's doing, I don't know what he's talking about. And then my brother just goes, and I wanted my brother to go beat him up. And my brother just says, well, well, go tell him to do the square dance. So I started to learn how to use, make it, flip it back on him. But that didn't help because I wanted violence. But that resolved itself one day when the teacher had enough and she went out and spanked that boy, and I watched from the inside. But then a few months later, there was a play. Like during the wintertime, they have these plays, or these programs, they call it, these schools put on. They sing and stuff like that. Well, my grade, kindergarten, had to do American history things. And one of the themes in that piece was Thanksgiving. And again, I was only Indian in the school, so guess what they wanted me to play? The Indian, I guess. So typecasting me already. But the thing is, they wanted me to wear these fake feathers with yellow, these bright fake turkey feathers on like a headdress, and skip around in a circle and do this, and like Indians do, I guess. I don't know. But and I was so mad, and I was 5, so I got to thank my parents for somehow they ingrained that even before 5 years old, that stuff like that wasn't a good thing. So I was mad. I told my mom, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to school anymore. Again, not going to school anymore. And they want me to do that, and I described it. So she went and called the teacher, the same teacher who took up for me before, and told her that this is really stereotypical, and Indians, this is a negative portrayal of Indian people, and the teacher was really genuinely sorry. She thought that that's how things went. That's how we were. She said from what she's seen on TV, that she thought that's what it was. And and it's, I suppose that's no fault of hers, because it's, mainstream is doing these things, and that still happens today. But anyway, she apologized and changed it, so I didn't have to be this stereotypical Indian anymore in that scene. Instead, I got made to be Uncle Sam. So that's what that means. So I had that, but there was already Uncle Sam, another kid. So there was 2. So that's what there's a thing, and that's a non-Indian kid over there with short, and then I'm there with braids and this. So I always wondered, what the crowd felt when they saw that. But there's a lot of things like that, these little stories about my life that, they're repeated throughout here. But you get, it's, I want to convey and show, like baseball. Baseball was one of my favorite sports, but I just wanted to be like my ancestors were when they did their art. They painted their experiences and their life and how they fit in the world, and that's what I try to do as well. And I'm not sure how much time I have, and I was talking to Jay. I said, this is going to be recorded, and it'll be the first time I wish, you almost wish it wasn't recorded, because I'd like things to disappear from people's minds in case I mess up or something. But I really want to thank the Missoula Art Museum for giving me a chance. Brandon and Laura, I want to thank you, and thanks for giving me a chance seeing that one, and it does good to the ego that you might have remembered me from the late 90s when I was going, in the early 2000s when I was really practicing my art, and then you only saw one and you gave me this shot. So, and I knew I couldn't let you down or let anybody down. I remember Brandon said, we'd like you to have some paintings. Can you do about 15? And I said, 15? And he said, or 20, or 25. So, and I go, yeah, I'll try. And that was 2 years. It goes, oh, about 2 years. I go, oh, okay, a year and a half to procrastinate, and then I started. So, but I didn't do that. I was doing here and there. But again, it turned out I did 10 here, which fit. So if I actually did do 25, there would have been some ones that didn't make the cut, wouldn't make the cut. But I want to thank you guys for giving me, and for the catalog, the writers, Jay, and being a great inspiration, Jay and Kathy, for they let me, and I never stay at anybody's house, but I think they're the only ones I ever stayed at. I always get hotels wherever I go, and I'm really a bashful kind of guy and don't want to impose, and they really have treated me well, and so thank you guys. And Yvonne Tiger, I don't know if she's watching, but she also wrote a great piece, and GB, he wasn't able to make it, but I've had a lot of help, for the things I do, and I want to thank everybody for being here, and especially also another mentor of mine, Corky, is over here, and I have some great mentors, and I always try to learn from, and oh yeah, and I forgot, I haven't seen these guys since it seems like 10 years ago, and but they're the only other place I stay at their house too. So, Corky and Linda's house. But yeah, I'm still nervous, and I see a lot of people I know and haven't seen in a long time. And is there do I need to feel anything else? Is that good?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Oh, thank you to my daughters.